In this video, we will be discussing Standard 1 and 2 from the domain Curriculum Teaching and Learning, or CTL 1 and CTL 2. Notice that we're talking about two standards at the same time. This video will go into detail on their similarities and differences. CTL 1 applies to administrators and supervisors, while CTL 2 applies to educators. These standards have different requirements depending on whether your program is aiming for a 3-star or a 4-star or a 5-star rating. Both standards focus on professional development in these areas: developmentally and culturally responsive practice, lesson planning, or curriculum implementation. The difference between and within these standards is who must complete these trainings and the required training hours at each star level. Let's walk through the requirements. First, taking a look at the 3-star requirements. Professional development on developmentally and culturally responsive practice related to children's learning and development. For CTL 1, administrators and supervisors need a minimum of 2 hours. It must be completed within the past 3 years. It must be updated every 3 years. For CTL 2, educators need a minimum of 4 hours. It must be taken within the past 3 years and refreshed every 3 years. At this level, a training on lesson planning is also required. For this requirement, administrators and supervisors for CTL 1, as well as educators for CTL 2, need this training to be a minimum of 2 hours, but are only required to take it once. Please note, for CTL 1 and CTL 2, at a 3-star level, 6 hours of professional development on curriculum implementation will suffice in lieu of taking the aforementioned trainings on lesson planning and developmentally responsive practice. How many points are possible? Let's first take a look at the 3-star requirements for these standards. If 50% of administrators and supervisors complete these 2 trainings or 6 hours of curriculum training for CTL 1, your program may receive 1 point. If educators complete these 2 trainings or 6 hours of curriculum training for CTL 2, your program may receive 2 points. For a 3-star rating, meeting the 50% threshold for both CTL 1 and CTL 2 is required. If 100% of administrators and supervisors complete both of these professional development requirements, or 6 hours of curriculum training, you may receive 2 points. If 100% of your educators complete these 2 trainings, or 6 hours of curriculum training for your CTL2, your program may receive 4 points. Please note, if you're not using a formal curriculum or one that's been approved by PCA-NJ Kids and you're aiming for a 3-star rating, the upcoming 4- and 5-star rating requirements are not required. However, if your program is already using a curriculum, you may want to consider completing the 4- and 5-star requirements for these standards to earn more points. Now for the 4- and 5-star requirements. For programs pursuing a 4- or 5-star rating, training and curriculum implementation is required. This must be delivered by or approved by the curriculum developer. This training should be progressive and based on your training needs. For CTL 1, administrators and supervisors are required to take this foundational training at a minimum of 6 hours every 3 years, up to a total of 36 hours. For CTL 2, educators are required to take this foundational training at a minimum of 12 hours every 3 years, up to a total of 36 hours. You may be asking, what if we have already completed 36 hours of PD from our curriculum developer? Upon proof that you have done so, you and your staff may receive training related to curriculum implementation that does not have to be created by the curriculum developer. If you're wondering what qualifies for these trainings, ask yourself if the training helps support your curriculum implementation. For CTL 1, administrators and supervisors are asked to still take 6 hours of professional development meeting this criteria every 3 years. For CTL 2, educators are asked to still take 12 hours of professional development meeting this criteria every 3 years. How many points are possible? When 50% of your admin and supervisors go through curriculum training, your program may receive 2 points. When 50% of educators go through curriculum training, your program may receive 6 points. For a 4- or 5-star rating, meeting the 50% threshold for both CTL 1 and CTL 2 is required. When 100% of administrators and supervisors go through this training, you may receive 4 points for CTL 1. When 100% of educators go through this training, you may receive 8 points for CTL 2. For maximum points in CTL 1, if 100% of administrators and supervisors also complete the 3-star trainings, such as lesson planning and culturally responsive practice, as well as the 4 and 5-star trainings for curriculum, your program may receive up to 6 points total for this standard. For maximum points in CTL 2, if 100% of your educators also complete the 3-star trainings, such as lesson planning and culturally responsive practice, as well as the 4 and 5-star trainings for curriculum, your program may receive up to 12 points total for this standard. What's the intent? To ensure that administrators, supervisors, and educators engage in ongoing professional development to enhance their knowledge and skills in high-quality curriculum implementation, lesson planning, and developmentally and culturally responsive practices. By completing professional development in these areas, administrators, supervisors, and educators will be equipped to deliver high-quality, developmentally appropriate, and culturally responsive learning environments. The structured approach to professional development with specific hour requirements fosters continuous improvement and specialization, ultimately benefiting the overall quality of early childhood education within the program. What is the required evidence? Examples of evidence can include professional development records and certificates, New Jersey Workforce Registry transcripts, and college transcripts showing completion of aligned coursework. Here are the answers to some frequently asked questions. If I'm going for a 4 or 5-star rating, do I also need to do training on developmentally and culturally responsive practice and lesson planning? No, it is optional. Meeting the criteria for all of the points of the standard is not required nor expected. When uploading a course, ask yourself how a rater would know, based on what you're submitting, that the course you took covered the information you're saying it covers. It is always the program who is responsible for providing this evidence. What if I just take the same foundational training over and over again? Will that count for credit? The goal is not for participants to take redundant trainings, but to build skills and knowledge through meaningful PD experiences. Repeatedly taking the same foundational training solely for credit does not reflect the spirit of professional development or continuous quality improvement. Instead, ask, what do the children in our classroom need right now, and how can staff be best supported in meeting those needs? Choose training that makes sense based on your experience. If you're new to curriculum, look for foundational training. If you're experienced, choose training that will deepen or advance your skills. We have a master teacher who has been training the staff in our curriculum for 20 years. Will that count for the curriculum training requirement? Only if this master teacher was approved by the curriculum developer to provide the training. This approval will be requested upon submission. Grow-N-J Kids Training Services has partnered with several curriculum developers to provide trainings for educators at various stages. Make use of these opportunities to build meaningful, responsive, professional development pathways for your team. Where can I find trainings that meet the 3-star level requirement? For the developmentally and culturally responsive training requirement, choose trainings that will have the biggest impact on your work with the populations you serve. Some options for training providers include Montclair State University's Pyramid Model, Module 1, which addresses cultural responsiveness. Courses on child development, diversity, equity, and inclusion in early childhood education can be seen in offerings from Grow-N-J Kids Training Services, such as the training Meeting the Needs of Diverse Learners, as well as the Child Development Series, and the developmentally appropriate practice trainings offered by Prevent Child Abuse New Jersey, and the Program for Infant Toddler Care, or PITC, which includes sections on culturally responsive care. For lesson planning, please be on the lookout for training from Grow-N-J Kids Training Services that covers this subject. What if I took 36 hours of curriculum training, but now we're switching to the more recently updated curriculum version? Please ensure that you have taken the foundational training that is most relevant to the curriculum you are actively using. Remember that the intent of the standard is not simply to complete curriculum training, but to be knowledgeable in your curriculum in the ways that best support your ability to implement it. Now, your QIP. The way you approach the standard will vary depending on which star level you're going for and what percentage of the administration and supervisors and educators can realistically go through this training by the time you plan to submit for rating. Ask yourself the following questions. Who will be responsible for ensuring staff complete the trainings, and how will this information be tracked? Who will support staff in finding appropriate trainings? Where will you look for trainings to support your program in this area? For developmentally and culturally responsive practice trainings, how will you ensure your documentation clearly shows alignment to the standard? How will you determine what professional development will be most supportive to your teachers in meeting the standard? If you're choosing a curriculum, what training will you need to best support staff through implementation? If you already have a state-aligned curriculum, how will you ensure training provided meets the developer's guidelines? If all staff need this training, what timeline will you set, and does it realistically account for their existing workloads? As you write your QIP, how will you connect the importance of developmentally and culturally responsive practices to your program's mission and goals, and how will you convey this to staff? How will you reflect staff training choices and their individual professional development plans? For further guidance on the standard and your specific program's needs, please speak to your technical assistance specialist.